fun, and Ken is a great friend to Barbie.
There's no empathy measure on most people's performance reviews. But if you don't have that, I think it's almost impossible to be an excellent marketer.
I was just this fat unit, you know what I mean, in a suit, and it was clear that I was not the same as the others.
Bienvenidos todos a un nuevo episodio de Better Marketing del WFA, and now I'll slip into English, but just to show Alberto that we are indeed a World Federation of Advertisers. We could do this in Spanish, but today, Alberto, we're going to speak English. And to everybody else, absolute delight to be talking to Alberto, who's the CMO, Group CMO of the Bimbo multinational group. Many of you might not know it, even though they operate in 33 markets. They're actually the biggest bakers in the world. Because my second home is in Madrid, I'm a huge fan of Pan Bimbo. And Pan Bimbo makes the best ham and cheese toasty you can have. And my recipe's available should anybody want them. But anyway, I guess I'd love to kick off by, it's an amazing achievement that Grupo Bimbo is the scale it now is, and probably unknown to many of our watchers, listeners, and it shouldn't be. So could you just tell us a little bit about the story of Grupo Bimbo, obviously weaving in your own, because I know you've been there a good while, but it'd be great to get that as a backdrop before we segue into some of the more marketing-focused questions.
Super, David. So thank you for the opportunity, to speak from as Grupo Bimbo, and as you mentioned, Grupo Bimbo is known in a lot of countries, but not that known in other ones, and we are really bakers, we are the biggest baker in the world, and I usually try to say also we try to be every day the best bakers, baking the best recipes and really being obsessed on bringing a superior quality in every experience that our potential shoppers or buyers can have every day, And regarding your questions, or where is the story of Grupo Bimbo? This is a 77 years old company that was created in Mexico. The father of the founder that has a bakery that was called El Molino here in Mexico. He passed away really young, and his son, that was a very smart guy, created what we call a startup. 77 years ago, after a trip to the U.S., he discovered I will say that the modern breads, those breads that were baked with care, were having a longer shelf life compared to the breads that were available in that moment. And he launched under the brand Bimbo his first bread here in Mexico City. And it was really a very successful launch and a very successful company of creating this packaged bread and serving consumers every day with I would say a very unique philosophy, on trying to build a company that was sustainable, but that was really taking care of having highly productive and deeply humane products in everything they were doing. And the success went very big, and then they started to cross the borders across Mexico, and trying to go to, especially at the beginning, in the Latin American countries, so everything below Mexico. And also it was very successful. A lot of products, a lot of something that was new in that moment or after 20 years, for all these companies. And after that, they decided, as the company was going very well, let's go outside of this new world and let's go to the mature world. I would say the US, Canada, Spain, UK, and they started to expand their business in this other organization, bringing their values, as these very unique values that they take really care of people, and trying to bring the best possible breads or baking products, because we say ourselves that we work for baking and snacking categories, and trying to bring those products across the whole world, and then also coming to Asia, and starting operations in China, in India, by acquisition of local organizations, because I think we're going to talk later probably, David, but something very relevant is that we try to understand consumers locally and try to offer what they really want, No, of course, having local brands, having global brands, but also taking care of those specific needs, that sometimes are different, not that different, but slightly different between countries and traditions and culture. No?
Well, Alberto, that's a fantastic backdrop and introduction for us. But perhaps you could talk a little bit about, how you, sitting in Mexico City, set about marketing the Mexican way to enable this global local balance. Because I'm sure, and I can see as I look at your website, there is indeed a Mexican way. So love to hear more about that. Love to hear your work style. Do you do lots online? Are you traveling again?
Very, very interesting question, David. I will say first that we really are a baking company. No, we say to ourselves that we are bakers. And a few years ago, before the pandemic, just when the pandemic started, we created the purpose, and we said it like very clear and loud, and we call it nourishing a better world.
Yeah,
So
brilliant.
we really believe that we have a responsibility that was very clear during the pandemic, no? Because we were going to the bakeries, we are going to our more than 55,000 routes across the world, no? Just bringing and delivering our products in every customer so that we were able at our homes, no, to really be safe and be secure. And of course, a lot of uh, um, damage was done there, no, but we really believe that those recipes need to be improved. No, we need to have recipes accessible for everyone. They need to be cleaner, so less ingredients, and also recipes that have ingredients that are understandable by each one of us. And we are working on this mission, and in order to operate and bring that to the communities where we operate every day and everywhere. No? And to your point, no, we are becoming more global by delivering in 30 or having operation in 34 different countries around the globe. So we are visiting customers, serving them the best we can, and offering those great recipes and brands that we have, no, in order to better fit consumer needs, no. And to your point, what is my experience? No, I grew up in Spain. I lived in France because I have a French nationality too. I lived in Canada. So when I came to Mexico, where 4 years or 3.5 years ago, no, what I saw is that there was really an international environment. No? People with very different cultures, very multicultural in terms of how we were making our decisions. So no, we are trying to have this have this very clear when we are having internal discussions in terms to add Mexican cultural people in our backgrounds, American, European, Asians, no, in order to, as those are places where we operate, trying to discuss local initiatives and have a wider vision when we are talking about the global challenges that really we face as mankind, no, as humanity, because we try to elevate as much as we can how we can help in order to help a better society, in order to help to build a better society.
Yeah, I mean, one of the initiatives I see you have, which I love, clearly sprang straight out of the purpose, which is the Grupo Bimbo race. Where your global race, you get all of your colleagues involved, as many people as want to volunteer to run, and for every runner, you donate 20 slices of bread to a food bank. And I think that's a wonderful initiative in itself, but so nice to see it so tightly linked to nourishing a better world and doing well by doing good. And so what I'm really fascinated by, though, is you got to this purpose and clarity, which has got that great advantage of it. It literally describes what you do, but it has other layers of meaning within it, of course, to get to the sustainability. But you did that before the pandemic. And I guess I'd be really interested to know how the purpose helped you steer through the difficult times that the pandemic must have been for the business, for you personally, and for continuing to build brands. How was nourishing a better world enabled by COVID?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, no, and I think first of all it drives internally, no. So as a associate working for GB, no, or Grupo Bimbo, it was something. We are 140,000 people worldwide working there, having a purpose and understanding that this purpose was helping in our little space, not for the people that we are compared to the whole world population, that we were helping on that, were making us, I believe, at least myself, and I know from a lot of colleagues, very proud of being able to really serve everyone and really see that people were buying more and more our products because we were facing great results in terms of selling our products, and offering them and covering needs that probably were not covered. And then to your question about nourishing a better world, and how we are doing a lot of sustainability initiatives. I can also add that first we have a clear mission, which is okay. We want to bring delicious and nutritious baked goods and snacks in the hands of everyone. That for me, it brings legacy. It brings, I would say, knowledge and probably tradition and expertise, that we have in order to nourish not just the people but also the planet. And to your point, we created this strategy, and we launched, for example, this new strategy with the goal with our brands, and that they need to be reflecting of this strategy with tangible results that were aligned with the United Nations, for example, Sustainable Development Goals.
Yeah.
So we were aligning everything. Let me share that, for example, I was telling earlier, simpler recipes and a lot plant-based because our product comes from wheat and corn, that our main two ingredients that we buy in the markets are really plant-based, and really try to bring more diversity in the nutritional profiles of our products and recipes, and we committed that 100% of our key ingredients will be sourced using regenerative practices by 2050. I know it's a long time to go. We have a lot of milestones to reach this objective, and this commitment, it will ensure the farmers, the small farmers, the customers that we have. I would say all the value chain, that are supported by Grupo Bimbo with dedicated programs in order to reach this ambitious goal, in order to help our individuals, the communities, and natures. And let me share some examples that we are doing for that. For example, we have the biggest or the largest electrical vehicles fleet here in Mexico and Latin America. We have over 2,400 vehicles already, and we are accelerating the pace of increasing acquisitions in order to have as soon as possible the maximum possible routes to be electric supplied. And in 2018, for example, just 1 year ago, earlier, we committed to operating with 100% renewable electric energy, in all the locations where we operate. And we joined the RE100 initiative.
Yeah.
It's this global alliance of companies that are committed to use renewable energy. And today we are operating from around 80% of renewable energy in more than 20 countries. And some of them, like the US, Mexico, so big one, Brazil, Argentina, are operating with 100% of renewable energy. So I think we are doing things. Another example could be the net zero carbon emissions. We said, okay, we are going to cut it by 2015 with the targets, with the science-based target initiative. And we became the first Mexican food industry company, that joined the Race to Zero campaign, that was sponsored also by the United Nations. So I think we also are doing a lot of things in packaging. Today, more than 90% of our product have received recyclable materials, but we are working to reduce the rest of the 10% that we are still missing. At the end of this year, we hope to have 94% already, growing and improving every day. And we have a lot of actions. I will not try to bore you with that, but if anyone wants to join, we have in our website, grupobimbo.com/sustainability, we can see all of the programs that we are working on in order to reduce this gap that we are creating.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very coherent strategy, and as I observe it through the lens of your website in particular, it is executed across everything you do. So whether there's some very good content around well-being, mental well-being, looking after yourself, and your internal standards and the way you set about looking after each other and looking out for each other. I think is another great example of a coherent strategy being executed properly. But it also seems to me, and you're embodying it here, it creates that wonderful magic which is internal pride. You know, when people are proud of where they work and what they do and how they're doing it, that creates a really positive energy for everybody. And I think it's the foundation for growth strategy, actually. So in every sense. Is that your experience? I mean, do you measure employee engagement? Are you looking at pride in the company and pride in the purpose?
Yeah. Uh, in my case, totally. I think this is something that once you connect with your inner interior, no, on what do you want from you in your life and what are you doing, no, the chances of staying more time in a company with great challenges and really think that you are helping for a better world in that case, no, really makes you feel proud and connected to what you are doing in your everyday job, no, because some days are really amazing, other are more complicated and more difficult, no, so totally aligned. In fact, we want the recognition as the more ethical company, and I think that this is an example, no, and for me this is not just about uh, let's say complying with policies and regulations, no, it is more transcending in time. Let me say it like this, no, because you are inspiring every associate, every person that is working in Grupo Bimbo, not to act with integrity and to do what is correct, no, and we feel that we are honored to be considered as one of the most ethical companies, no? We understand how much responsibility does it mean, no, and together there is an institute in charge of the study that is called Etisphere, that is recognizes a lot of the practices that we are doing as Grupo Bimbo, no? Like in the global agricultural policy, where we share a vision, practices that we are doing to support everything from the economic, the environment, social resilience, commitments to promote better practices across all the supply chain. Because at the end, we have a huge responsibility. You know, being big also makes you be very responsible for what you are doing in every step of the process of from baking a bread to making it a reality for our consumers, no, and our users or potential buyers. No?
And I think obviously from the outside, when you see targets that are at 2050, it's relatively easy to have the default button set to cynicism. But I like the fact that you're thinking short term, long term, and they're realistic goals to achieve, actually. Can I ask you about who's holding you to account for that in the world of marketing? Because, you know, I love the whole notion of regenerative agriculture. We had a brilliant speech in Istanbul recently about regenerative marketing, actually. So, how do you see that, Alberto? I mean,
David, that's a wow, amazing question. We are working a lot. We went a few months ago to some farmers in Kansas, where it's our one of the biggest places where we are buying, um, let's say, wheat and corn. In that case, the main two commodities we're buying. No, and we were discussing the challenges that we are facing. No, in order to ensure that these crops that we are buying from regenerative agriculture are really becoming not just more important for us in terms of percentage of sales because we are growing and growing the crops, but also that we are bringing a better future. No? If our purpose is really to nourishing a better world, we really need to ensure that everything we do is connected to that. No? So that, to your point, in the upcoming years, we are increasing the percentage of crops that are coming from our array, no, from regenerative agriculture, no, and we are understanding the importance of the soil, how to regenerate it, how to use it more wisely, and how to make them really part of our base baked product production, no, or in every bakery that we have all around the world, more than 200 bakeries now that need to have this, and that's a transition that we are starting to do in a lot of countries, and we are increasing this way of thinking, I would say, not just working, no, because it's more mindset change that is being established across all the system, no? Across all those our associates.
and how, you know, this must be an interesting issue when you're acquiring companies, actually. So how do you kind of align the values? How do you get local acting global against those values, but of course maintaining their own thing? I suppose India is what's springing to my mind here. I wanted to ask you a bit about India. Tell us about the brands, the products, but actually this whole, how are they doing to help?
Yeah, no, David, very good question. Really, it's something that is happening across a lot of organizations. No, to your point, in China and in India, India is more a country where people are used to eat bread related products. No, so it is. I will not say easier, but it's a country where we acquire a few organizations and where we are trying to ensure that every collaborator, every associate that is working in this company is understanding the values of the company. And those values, as I was saying earlier, no, we have it. This we want to be a sustainable, highly productive, and deeply humane company. And from this, we build this purpose of nourishing a better world. And I think it's something that not just in India and in China, but in general, because they acquired the company in Spain, in Canada, in the UK, in a lot of countries. No, it's small organizations that you make them big by bringing the global products that have a success and that we believe they can have good replicas and that can become success stories locally. No, we have the snack, we have good breads like, for example, Artesano, no, that was created
Yeah.
in a local organization like Colombia, and from there we bring it to the rest of the countries, no, with the same concept, really with a very global, I will say, brand approach, but then execute it with the specifics of each country. If it's consumed as a sandwich, or if it's consumed in a specific occasion, maybe in the morning as a breakfast, but it's not the case everywhere. So you need to adapt those strategies in order to win locally, because we really believe we are like a local company. No, we are very global in the way we try to approach the problems of or the how to solve the consumer needs. Then we act very locally. No, and China and India is more bread related. China is probably more rice related, but there is a huge increase on consumption of baked products. I just came from a trip 2 weeks ago, last week, from China, where we were organizing, no, from the organizations that we have, the Bimbo brand, because we have Bimbo and another brand, how we can make those brands relevant for consumers locally, and helping with the knowledge of how to improve recipes from the knowledge of 70 years, no, of a lot of R&D people, understanding small details that can help bake better breads, having better recipes, which are, at the end, is our obsession. No? How can we bring this amazing experience every time that a consumer everywhere is buying a product from Grupo Bimbo? No?
And how do you? I think you have over 100 brands, Alberto. But I also see that you're doing some very nice things with Grupo Bimbo as a global brand. And let's do the Barcelona women's football sponsorship as a great example of that, which I think you signed in October 22. And that enables you to talk about diversity. Women's football. Here we sit as the Women's World Cup is underway. These are great ways of getting the global brand out there. And obviously, because I know you through Spain, I knew Bimbo anyway. But tell us about the brand landscape and how you're doing the local global thing. So I don't know, but do you have? Is there Bimbo Naan in India?
No, in India we are starting to bring the brand. No, we are, of course, we have local brands that are very powerful, and we don't want to lose this local approach with the local consumers, with the products that are feeding their needs better than anyone else. No? And to your point, we try to be local, having global rules and global and local talent, making decisions on how to really bring products with a competitive advantage, understanding the local needs of consumers. No, and to your point on the biggest brand, probably the biggest brand apart from the English American countries, it's of course the Bimbo brand. Bimbo is a very powerful brand in a lot of countries. There is assets that are close to this brand. For example, we mentioned there is a small bear. We call it the Osito Bimbo that is like the baker that bakes those products everywhere, no, and try to take care and is connecting, of course, with the younger, probably the younger audiences, no. We also have the race that you raised earlier on, no, that is something that is very global. We are going to do it this year in more than 24 cities. Last year, we donated more than 6 million slices of bread, to your point. And I remember going to the food banks and some leaders crying, no, and telling me this is the best donation for all over the year for us in Mexico. And a lot of people are starving, you know. So really, I think this is making our Nourishing a Better World purpose a reality by making it in action, no, and really seeing what it can bring in back, no. But to your point, the Bimbo brand, we have had very successful launches in the last years, no. Artesano was one, 00, which is like a product that, thanks to the technologies that we learned in the last years, we were able to create the products without added sugars, without preservatives, like a lot of benefits that are very relevant for consumers. We know that the health and wellness trend is becoming more and more relevant, and we are putting all our resources in order to generate those new concepts that can really cover, I will say uncovered meat. Probably they are covered by other products, no? But in that case, that can be covered by us at an affordable price and a very high quality, no? So the way we work, to your point, is we try to attract local professionals that can be really accountable on this kind of innovations or renovations or products concepts that can really fit the local consumer needs. Then the idea is, how can we replicate all of those great and amazing concepts and bring them to the rest of the organization? Well, that's one of our biggest challenges when you are hiring local talented people, no? But it is something that is working every day faster and faster in order to, when a concept works in 20 out of 20 countries, you know it's going to work in the rest of the organization, especially if they are from different continents, different backgrounds, cultures, no? So they can fit or they can cover a need that those local consumers are facing, no, or are looking at, no?
And can I ask you, in that kind of context, I think since 2017 you had an accelerator. I think it's called Eliva, and I guess I'm intrigued by how is that delivering for you. You know, many a company started accelerators because it was the thing to do, and when you look at what they've actually delivered, a lot of them have delivered disappointment. What about you? I mean, how's the accelerator been doing? Is that part of this innovation machine?
Yeah, totally, David. I think that there will be two parts of innovation. No, one, to your point, the internal innovation, where we are trying to make our base bakers and our base snacking experts trying to bring new concepts to every consumers everywhere. No? But then there is other area that we call it Bimbo Ventures. In fact, Eleva is part. I will explain it now. No, but we have this Bimbo Ventures, which is, let me say, an accelerator. We want to have a window to the outside world, because sometimes when you are working very close, you forgot to understand or to see what kind of technologies or what things are happening outside our world. Not just in terms of R&D, that I think is the main, one of the main advantage that we can see from local technicians or startup leaders, etc., etc. Also to optimize processes in our bakeries. No, and in fact, to your point, no, we created Bimbo Ventures in 2017, and we started by dedicating and trying to find partnerships with innovative early stage food companies, and we prioritized initiatives across all Latin America countries, North America, and Europe. And in fact, we have hubs with people that were based in Israel, in Spain, in the US, in countries where we know that innovation is really moving forward, that there is open innovation programs that really are focused on helping those startups. No? And from there, in order to be successful, we generate spaces. One of them is called, for example, an open door. It was held last year. It was the first accelerator program. And we received more than 250 applications of amazing startups. Really, it was a hard job. It started from the executive committee and even the CEO involved, no, in order to choose which ones we can are really helping us to have a competitive advantage. And so we need to invest today in order to get these capabilities, technologies, knowledge, whatever is it, and bringing them in Grupo Bimbo in order to accelerate the way we are doing innovation, bakery products, etc., etc. So we chosen, I think we had 11 in this first generation of the program, and then we try to work very close with them in order to accelerate the great products or the great concept or technologies that they have. Let me put you an example here. On today, I think we invested in more than 30 startups. There is one that is called Chia Mia here in Mexico. It's a small Mexican startup led by a young woman entrepreneur, also connected to where you were saying earlier on how we are bringing diversity in everything we do. But especially, she's super smart in having a healthy soft drinks, and we believe in the potential that they can have. So we are helping them to accelerate, not just with money, also with the knowledge of our R&D and our experts, no, our bakers. Every time that in a bakery someone is retiring after 45 years, even if he's deciding the color of the dough, you are having a great problem because the new person is not that able to reach it. You can make the values, in a paper. Those are the correct values of a dough, but if they don't have the expertise there, you can lose the greatness of the product at the end of the process. Then the experience as consumers.
Fantastic. And Alberto, as we come towards the tail end of this, what intrigues me is this purpose that binds you all is really a great platform for delivering a sustainable business and sustainable brands. And I wonder what you think of companies as you look sideways. There are other competitors who don't do business like this. I mean, do you think they can learn from you? Can you learn from them? Interesting area, this, I think.
Wow, that's a super question. I hope they could be inspired because my perception is that this is something that we all need to do. No, as big companies, we have big responsibility too, and we really need to be facing the biggest challenge of mankind, no, of humanity, and work in our, of course, a smaller area compared to the challenge of humanity, but by bringing this value that we can have, I think that if we inspire other organizations, I really encourage them, no, to come, try to join, and if they ever have any doubt, please come with me because I will try to help on that. Because at the end, it's something that will have a positive payback in all your stakeholders, no, not just in terms of winning money, but it's winning credibility. You said it very well. What about the brand? No, it is increasing the consideration you can have toward your brand because you are doing something very relevant for humanity. And David, imagine for the younger targets. I always say
Exactly.
that the younger one, in terms of sustainability, is not even a chance, an opportunity, or a challenge. No, it's a must. You have it, or you are not even considered to be there. That's why this Bimbo Venture, small companies doing great things locally, learning from them, because we are not just helping, no, they are helping us a lot too, because they are bringing a lot of value in the thinking, in the way in the way they operate, in the way they bring things to the market really, really fast. No, we are very big, and sometimes we need to be more agile. We are working a lot on this too, no, in order to be able to deliver concepts as fast as we can, not losing time because trends change very, very fast.
Yeah, I mean, again, a nice piece on your website about agility, agile working.
Yeah.
And one of the things I see is you're a very open company as well, and
Yeah.
willing to share your learning, which is great. I think you've got a real credibility of purposeful action, and you're doing things, you're not just saying things. So, and this is what the world needs more of. We need every company in the world to accelerate their learning and understanding because, otherwise we aren't going to have a world to nourish to be a better place. The second thing is, You know, as a marketeer that's travelled around the world, what do you think marketeers in the companies that are listening and watching this should have at the top of their agenda?
To your 2 points, I'm sure we're gonna work closer once we are getting bigger, and on how we can work more closely and be partnership with, of course, with WFA, no, the most important advertisers network in the world, I would say, no, and let's work on that. And to your second question, as far as from what I am seeing, I think that we need to be obsessed with understanding consumers in every occasion. So David is going to eat things during today's day. No, how can I bring products, brands, experiences that are superior to the other competitors in order for you to choose my brand, or whatever is the area I'm working for. For that, I need to understand how is your leisure time, how you're spending it, where are the networks, where are the things that are relevant for you, and how can I be in contact with you. No, my perception is that sometimes we are very reduced in the way we see ourselves, no, because we've been doing something with good results over time, and it's very difficult to challenge that and change. So I will say, let's challenge yourself and really what you think that is established and is a reality, really think it is not 100% true. So let's find where is
Yeah.
this, let me call it, gap or this opportunity, in order, of course, to nourish a better world. That I think it's something that we can do, or everyone in every place and in every moment that we are living. No?
Great conversation. I really enjoyed the opportunity to speak to you and learn about Grupo Bimbo. And I think it is a great example of a purposeful company that will hopefully thrive and indeed deliver on your purpose. So good luck with that, and thanks so much for taking the time.
David, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And sure, we need to build these brands with purpose that are going to connect with wider audiences and more consumers. And my pleasure for being for having this time.
Well, having talked all about bread, what we're going to be talking about next time in September is alcohol in various forms, because we're going to have the absolute privilege of talking to the current WFA Marketer of the Year, the CMO of Diageo, the wonderful Cristina Diethandino. And I'm sorry about butchering the pronunciation of your name, Cristina, but I'll learn it by the time we get together. Meanwhile, enjoy your summers, everybody. Take care.